Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're going to crack open the anatomy of an Active Directory disaster. We're going way beyond the textbook theory here to decode the critical AD architecture you need to know, not just to absolutely crush your AZ-800 exam, but to keep real-world enterprise environments secure and running smoothly.
Right. Let's set the stage by looking at a real-world nightmare scenario. Picture this. You've got 1,200 employees sitting at their desks, completely locked out of their machines. We're talking 3 full days of total downtime. And the wild part? It was all caused by a simple group policy conflict that proper organizational unit design would have entirely prevented. It literally would have taken 20 minutes to fix if the structural design was correct from the start. Get this stuff right, and you're the hero of the IT department. Get it wrong? Well, you're looking at a catastrophic outage.
So we've got a lot of ground to cover. We're going to look at mastering AD objects in security, bulletproof OU design, resolving GPO conflicts, catching silent certificate failures, and finally, essential troubleshooting.
All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Mastering AD Objects and Security.
If there is one specific acronym you absolutely must have locked in for the exam and for real-world efficiency, it's AGDLP. You really need to memorize this exact flow. Accounts go into global groups go into domain local groups, and then those domain local groups are what actually get the permissions. Now, you might be wondering, why go through all these hoops instead of just tossing users directly into universal groups? Well, it's because every single time a universal group's membership changes, it triggers a replication storm across the entire global catalog forest. AGDLP is essentially the gold standard pattern that keeps your replication traffic super low and makes your access reviews incredibly straightforward.
Now let's contrast those risky legacy service accounts with the absolute magic of Group Managed Service Accounts, or GMSA. You know the drill with traditional service accounts, right? They're a massive security gap because they rely on manual password rotation. So what usually happens? A tired admin just checks the password never expires box and completely forgets about it. Enter GMSA. This is a total game changer. With GMSA, Active Directory automatically rotates the password every 30 days. No human ever knows the password, and it requires literally zero admin intervention. Honestly, if a Microsoft service supports it, you absolutely need to be using GMSA to harden your infrastructure.
Moving right along to Section 2, Designing Bulletproof Organizational Units.
So when you're designing your AD structure, you really don't want to just dump everything into a single giant bucket. This table shows the standard hybrid OU structure, which is brilliant because it ensures your policies apply in clean, non-conflicting layers. You put geography at the very top level, like London, New York, or Sydney, and then you break things down by object type and function underneath that. It's all about incredible precision. If you need a strict kiosk lockdown policy, you link it only to the kiosk's OU. If you need executive-level security, it specifically targets the executive's OU. Everything applies exactly where it's supposed to, with no messy overlap.
Let's talk about a huge pet peeve of mine, external contractor accounts. A super common security disaster is when automated onboarding tools just drop contractor accounts into unmanaged default containers, like the default users container. Remember, you cannot link GPOs to those default containers. So if a contractor lands in there, they get 0 policies. No screen lock, no firewall, full USB access. Yikes. To fix this, you have to follow these exact steps. First, create a dedicated contractor's OU. Second, slap a strictly restrictive GPO onto it. And third, and most importantly, update your provisioning tools to point directly to that newly managed path.
Next up, Section 3, Resolving Complex GPO Conflicts.
Okay, this is essentially the rules of engagement for Active Directory. You have got to memorize the SDOU processing order. GPOs are applied from site, down to domain, down to the OU, following a really strict last writer wins rule. So, say your domain policy sets a standard corporate desktop wallpaper, but your specific sales OU policy sets a custom team photo. Because the sales OU is processed last, the sales wallpaper wins. This SDOU flow is the absolute backbone of how group policy processes information.
But let me ask you this. How do you resolve a situation where policies straight up collide? Imagine your security team's domain-wide hardening policy demands everyone is locked out after 5 minutes of inactivity. But the executives have explicitly set their OU to block higher policies so their big presentations don't get interrupted. When these two forces meet, who actually wins the tug of war?
The answer all comes down to the dynamic between 2 specific settings. Here's the deal. The enforced flag is an unstoppable force. It will always override block inheritance.
Block inheritance tries to build a nice little wall around an OU, but an enforced GPO acts like a bulldozer. Enforced beats block inheritance every single time. And guess what? That is exactly what caused that massive 1,200-person lockout we talked about at the start. A security admin set a 5-minute timeout to enforced at the domain level, instantly crushing the executive's block, locking everyone out and causing total mass confusion.
All right, shifting gears to Section 4, fixing silent certificate failures.
This one is a hidden threat that lives within your computer configuration GPOs. Certificate auto-enrollment is entirely GPO-driven. If something breaks, say the certificate authority goes offline or permissions get tweaked, there are no immediate error messages. It's a silent killer. The computers just stop renewing their certificates. Everything seems totally fine until months later when the expiration dates hit. Then suddenly, bam, LDOPS fails, VPNs drop, Wi-Fi is denied, and smart cards reject. It is a catastrophic wave of cascading failures that all hit at the exact same time.
So how do we prevent this? You have to get proactive. Never ever just assume auto-enrollment is working. You need to actively test it using the certutil command. Literally, just log into a test machine once a month and run certutil-pulse. This tiny command forces the machine to trigger the auto-enrollment event. Then you manually verify that a fresh certificate was actually issued. It's a simple 30-second check, but it will literally save you from an organization-wide meltdown.
And finally, Section 5, Essential Group Policy Troubleshooting.
When a user calls the help desk complaining that they're missing a drive map or an app didn't install, please stop guessing. The crucial point to take away here is this exact syntax, gpresult/h. This command is the definitive diagnostic tool. It generates a beautifully formatted HTML report that reveals every single applied, filtered, and blocked policy on that machine. It completely takes the guesswork out of troubleshooting GPOs. Once you've got that HTML report open, there are 4 top logical failures you need to scan for. First, just check if the machine or user is sitting in the wrong OU. It happens all the time. Next, check security filtering. Was the policy restricted to a group they aren't in? Third, look at WMI filters. A bad WMI filter will silently block a GPO by returning false. And finally, always keep an eye out for those bulldozer enforced flags from a higher level that might be aggressively overriding the local settings you expected to see.
Well, I really hope this explainer brought these vital AZ-800 concepts to life for you. Understanding how AGDLP logic, smart OU design, and GPO processing all interlock is exactly what separates a good admin from a truly great one. So as you go back and review your own network's architecture, I want to leave you with this provocative thought. Have you ever had a GPO conflict cause an unexpected outage or a massive security gap in your own organization? Think about it, and think about how the tools we discussed today could fix it. Thanks for learning with me today, and keep mastering those core concepts.